Hey, what's up YouTube? Balder here, and it is a new year! Yeah, we're actually almost done with January, so it isn't necessarily a new year, but it is new enough. It's definitely very early in the year. And you know what's funny? I already have something to complain about. So, I'm playing Space Marine, if anybody's wondering. If you're a fan of Warhammer 40k, definitely get this game. But other than that, there's something that has been on my mind, and it has to do with the release of Dying Light. So I have seen a video from Rich from ReviewTech USA, and he said something about it that was just very interesting. What he basically said is that Dying Light is a mediocre title. It's not terrible, but at the same time, it's just not good. Now, what does that generally mean? Well, definitely not something that's really good. You see, Dying Light was one of those games that was overhyped, and if you noticed a lot about 2014, we had a lot of overhyped games. If you look at 2014, it was basically a minefield of, I wouldn't necessarily say bad games. Definitely there were some bad games in 2014, but the ones that were overhyped weren't necessarily bad, but they were mediocre. And that's probably the biggest offense. They weren't terrible, they were just boring. They were not great, they were just overhyped, and this is a very disturbing trend, if you ask me. Why is it a disturbing trend? Honestly, I thought we were over the hype. I thought that we wouldn't get fooled again. Just because a game has so much hype behind it doesn't mean that it's going to turn out well. And it isn't just 2014 that did that. In 2013, we had things like Battlefield 4, and we also had Total War Rome 2, and many other games. Aliens Colonial Marines is one of them. However, that definitely was a piss-poor game, but it was definitely overhyped. I mean, especially with how much it was built up to be. And, of course, 2014 was much worse. I mean, we had Elder Scrolls Online, we had Titanfall, which actually isn't too bad. It's actually pretty good, but really, it wasn't the amazing game that we were promised. Same with Destiny, not bad, but not good. And along with other things like Watch Dogs, which is just plain boring. And it keeps going on and on. I mean, where you have Assassin's Creed Unity as well, and I think you're noticing a pattern here. All these games were overhyped, and they were hyped to be the best of the best, and of course, that didn't come true at all. Not at all. So here we are in 2015, early 2015 for that matter, and it seems like we haven't shed our habits yet. Now, Dying Light came out, and of course, it's been out for not really that long. So maybe it isn't over yet, maybe there are going to be some good reviews on it, or maybe it's just going to be boring and a lot of people will agree with Rich. I have absolutely no clue. But to be honest, this is kind of a disturbing trend, because regardless of whether it is good or not, it was still overhyped. And if we were to take anything from last year, being overhyped is not a good thing. It doesn't mean that you're going to have a good end product, but people always fall for it. That's what hype is. I just wish we didn't, and it's a really bad practice. We should not fall into that, and we shouldn't have a situation where we just pre-order games or do anything of that. The thing you need to understand about game companies, especially nowadays, is that you lost your right to a refund long ago. It doesn't matter whether the game is good or not. The moment they have your money, that's it. You cannot refund a game. Maybe you can trade it in for something else, but last I checked, you were not allowed a refund, and that's especially true with digital distribution like Steam and GOG and pretty much everyone around that. So with that said, I encourage all of you, to never pre-order and always check for reviews before you buy a product. Game companies should not be able to get away with making terrible titles just to make a quick buck. I mean, if you like games like Watch Dogs, you know, be my guest, that's not a problem, but the majority of people really didn't, and it's unfortunate that companies are getting away with it. This type of practice is going to continue until consumers wisen up. Hopefully that happens soon, that way we can get the games we deserve.